So Lynn has thrown herself obviously into her work trying to find the cure for the metahuman virus.
Yeah.
Do you think that that she feels responsible a little bit for?
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, 14 kids died last season, and really, you know, as a medical professional, she was not able to solve that problem. Mm-hmm. And also, I think the whole element of having Dr. Jace come in, who ultimately sabotaged the whole endeavour, but really there's that extra weight of really allowing this person that came into her project and her research and basically, you know, sabotage it. So I think there's this double guilt of, you know, not being able to solve a problem that she felt she could, but also allowing someone else to just negate her process. So yeah, she feels she is on a mission this season to fix it, and it's sort of one of those weird things where it hasn't, it's almost not even about the kids anymore, you know, it's about Lynn having to right a wrong that, you know, ultimately, was it her fault or was she just a product of the environment and the circumstances? So she's even more driven this season, but it's in a way that I would say isn't massively healthy. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think building off of that, like, it's Lynn's desire to help people, I feel, has really been used against her this season. And so going forward, after what we've seen, is that going to change her approach at all and how she does things?
In what sense? In the fact that...
I feel like, you know, she wants to help, she feels responsible, and now she's gotten herself addicted to Greenlight as a result. And then you find out it was, you know, the ASA who did that to her. Yeah. So it's like this desire to help has just been corrupted and used as a weapon against her. So it's like, is she still going to want to help?
I hope so. I mean, I think with everything that she's going through this season and everything that she will continue to go through as you see as the episodes unfold, I hope that within all of that there is still that desire. I mean, she's still taken her medical oath. She's still, you know, she's still a scientist and an investigator, and I think that's just kind of part of her DNA. And I don't, however difficult the next sort of few months or whatever would be for her, I still think that when all's said and done, when she comes through the other side, I think she'll always have that desire to figure out what the heck happened, you know, that's just who she is, you know.
Well, we see in the kind of the first 3 episodes her tell Jefferson, you know, I'm the one who's basically playing Agent Odell, like I'm using the stuff he's giving me to kind of continue on my research, and then in the 4th episode we see that it's actually Agent Odell who's kind of playing Lynn. So how is that going to play out, and when is she going to realize that she's the one actually being played?
Can you tell us that?
Well, here's the thing. Just because of where we are and where I'm about to go, it's not a direct line to that conclusion. She's got to go through a lot more before. That's what I'm saying. It's almost bigger than the kids. It's bigger than Odell. This is like Lynn's journey, and I don't think she's in a place to kind of go, who's responsible for this, you know, shit show. She's not thinking rationally. Obviously now they've been giving her the glimmer. She's working frantically because now there's genuinely sick children who are going to die, and potentially, you know, all the messes. So I don't know that she's in that mind where she's thinking about who is the Grand Master. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't think that revelation, I don't think that's dawned on her. She's not there. And actually I don't know that she even cares, because I think she's so laser focused on figuring out how to, you know, solve the problem that, I mean, ultimately anybody in their right mind would have known that Odell was a bad cat. Do you know what I mean? That was obvious from last season.
Just look at his face.
Last season,
Every
the
time
way
he
he like
comes in a
appears, you're in a room,
room,
you're like, what the heck are you doing in here? Dude, where did you come from? Evil incarnate. But here's the thing. I mean, you're going to meet Bill, I think, today. It's so crazy because he is the nicest, kindest, sweetest. But when he goes into Odell, you're kind of frozen, you know. He's really compelling in a very sinister way, you know. But yeah, so anybody normal, rational in their right mind, they would have seen that. But obviously, Lynn being where she is and the circumstances, you know, the stakes are really high. Freeland's at war. I'm not, you know, they haven't connected the dots yet. And I don't think the dots actually even end with Odell. I think it's even bigger than that. And I don't know that for sure, but I feel like the world is opening and opening and opening rather than, you know, right, okay, so it was Odell all along, move on. I think, you know, I think this is we're going to realise that there's more people at play, you know.
It's like the X-Files. It's not really just Smoking Man. It's like a whole thing.
Exactly,
like
exactly.
Well, actually, it was a Smoking Man. I take that back.
And then with Lynn's journey this season, what do you hope fans take away from your character's arc?
I think right now they just feel really bad for her because she's clearly about to sort of descend into a bit of a drug mania. I mean, I think if anything, just broadly speaking, I think fans of the show, I think this season's interesting because what we're doing, which we haven't done before, we've shifted away from that family-centric version of Black Lightning, and I guess we've kind of moved more into the comic book version of Black Lightning, which I think is quite right, and I think that's what we should be doing because we are a DC show. Nevertheless, it is a transition. So in terms of what the audience will take away, I'm not sure because I think we almost have sort of two camps right now. We've got the camp who are like, yes, DC, yes, crossover, yes, Infinite Earth, yes, Markovians, all that stuff. And then you've got people who are like, yeah, I want to see the family, I want to see Jeff and Lynn, I want to see the girls, I want to see the principal. And so how do we sort of marry these two things? And I think that's kind of where we are in season 3. I think in some ways we've been really successful, in other ways the jury's still out. I don't know, as a view, and I'm talking about this as a viewer because obviously when I'm doing Lynn, I'm just doing Lynn. I don't know what everyone else is doing and I don't know how it's going to come together and I don't know all the special effects. As a viewer, I think I'm trying to figure out, you know, okay, so where are we going and am I still invested in the Pierce family? Because if you're not invested in the Pierce family, then I don't know how long we can keep people on the journey. So I guess that was a really long-winded way of saying I hope that the audience still feels a connection to the Pierces in the same way that they did season 1 and 2. Because if they feel that, then we've done our job. Because when it gets crazy and when we get into metahumans and people flying and people, you know, morphing into different pieces of furniture or chameleon or whatever, there has to be that sense of, well, what's the emotional core, what's the emotional root? So for me, that's always been what I would want as an actor, like the audience to feel that there is a real emotional connection and that they care about what happens to this family and that we don't get sort of lost in a cloud of you know, people who can fly.
But I think that the first 2 seasons that was already established, like the family and caring. So I feel like it works.
That's what I'm
because
saying.
you put in the work.
Exactly.
Right.
So I think, and again, I think for the DC fans, they would get frustrated with that and be like, well, yeah, no, that's great, but like when? What about Grace? What about this? What about that? You know. And I think that's where we were smart because we said you have to be with this family, you have to go with them, you have to love them, trust them, want them to be okay, care about them in order for us to take you on the journey we want to take you on. So I hope that, you know, we can just keep doing that.
Sure.
We mentioned Dr. Jace earlier.
Love her.
And
Crazy
obviously,
bitch.
yeah, obviously you're one of the characters on the show that doesn't have superpowers, but now you have quote unquote an arch nemesis or a supervillain. How does it feel to finally have someone that you can sort of gear up to want to take down like that?
Yeah, I mean, I love all the stuff with Dr. Jace. Just because as an actor it's really fun to play. Because at the same, you know, they're both competent, brilliant doctors. So in another universe, they'd be like curing cancer and shit. Do you know what I mean? They would like solve the world's problems if they could actually work together. Unfortunately, Dr. Jace is a sociopath and a psychopath. So obviously that's problematic, but there
you
is
can't
this,
work with those.
I can't work with those kind of people, you know, and yet I picked this business to do it.
How's that working out? I mean, you have a show, so I feel like you're okay.
We're good.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think what she brings is so good, because it's almost like she's the kind of dark to my light, in the sense of she's the sort of mirror version of, do you use your powers for good or do you use your powers for evil? So when I think together, it's a really good counter. So I've really enjoyed all the stuff that we've done, and there will be more.
So chance to see her later in the season?
Maybe.
Okay.
I mean, I think it, again, as an audience member, that's what I want to see. So let's just say I think there's a real sense of like, when are those two going into the ring again, literally and metaphorically? There's going to be some knockdowns, isn't there?
Better be.
There has to be.
Yeah, if I know Celine, there's definitely going to be some knockdowns. It's fun. It's so fun, because that's the thing I don't get to do. You know, I don't get to do the fights.
Yeah.
You know,
You're just kind of in the background
I
sometimes while they're fighting. You're like,
oh,
me.
stop it! I want to do it. So that's the fun thing, because I get to, you know, that's the great thing about Lynn. I mean, I get to live in all these worlds of like the scientist, and then the mother and the wife, and then, you know, the drug addict, and then, you know, just the badass. And it's so great as an actor, because, you know, you could just be playing in one lane for 7 seasons of a show. So I'm so happy that season 3, and I've already covered so much. I mean, I've killed someone. I mean, basically the only one in the family that killed someone until I think probably quite recently. But, you know, punched her out. I've saved some kids. I've lost some kids. I mean,
emotional roller coaster.
Yeah. It really has. It really has been an emotional roller coaster. And people don't understand that what that actually is like, you come to work, you do all this crazy stuff, and then you have to go home and be sort of normal. And I've got kids, so it's even weirder when you're sort of at work all day, like punching out Dr. Jace, and then you just go home and make some pasta. You think, they've got no idea, my kids, what. I mean, they've been to set 6 and 13, but they don't really know what my day entails, you know, where I have to go in my mind to do what I'm doing, especially in this season. And I think it's funny. It's also great because it's grounding, but it's such a weird, it's definitely a weird kind of counter to play Lynn Stewart on her roller coaster and then just go home and be mum and
Like
nothing
happened.
just normal. How was your day? Fine. Just good.
How do you turn it off?
That's a good question. Drinking's good, but obviously that's not good if you leave work at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
It's not?
But not when you've got to go and do the school run.
Oh, right.
Hey kids!
Hello.
I called you an Uber because I'm not.
Postmates
It'll be
tonight.
like DCFS. She's not allowed to take her kids home today.
Yeah, no, it's hard. I mean, I genuinely, I wouldn't say that I'm a sort of massively method actor, because this is TV, we work very, very quickly. We don't have a huge amount of time to sort of jump from moment to moment. But I definitely see how actors that sort of play these roles, which are emotionally challenging, why it gets grey and why it gets difficult to turn it off. Because for me personally as an actor, I do have to sort of go somewhere emotionally in my mind to get what I need in a performance. Now, when you go somewhere emotionally, that actually starts to make things happen in your body physically. I mean, there's so much research about think happy, become happy. You know, I mean, it's just, there's essay after essay. And so that's the thing that's quite challenging, is that you have to go there. So to go there, something starts to happen, like adrenaline. I can't even describe it, but it is quite a hard thing to transition out of. Often what I'll do is I'll go to my dressing room on wrap, and everyone else leaves work as soon as they're done, whereas I think, well, I can't go home and make pasta right now.
Right.
So I'll just sit in my dressing room and watch, half an hour of Netflix. Usually a bit of Queer Eye for a straight guy, because I find that's kind of good therapy to just lift me out.
Makes you feel good.
Makes me feel good, but also helps me cry. And then I'm like, okay, I'm good. I'm ready. Let's go.
I can do that school run now.
Yeah, exactly. Without a drink.
Last question, guys. And then, what's been the most challenging, would you say, your most challenging emotional journey with Black Lightning so far?
I mean, really all the stuff we're doing now, because it's kind of this combination of the stakes are really high, the drug issues, which are obviously starting to present themselves, the kind of fracturedness of her family and of her, everything of her life. All those combinations together are really hard. And also I'm a very sort of buoyant, fun, I'm a very like fun, happy-go-lucky, positive, sprightly person. So it's quite hard for me to come to work and I have to say to the crew, don't talk to me today. Just don't talk to me. I've got to be in the mode. Otherwise I'd be yakking it up, laughing it up, but you can't do it. It's not possible to get to where you need to be. So that's the challenging thing, because you've got to find a way to kind of sit in that nasty, messy, upsetting place and do your job. So that, you know, I'm definitely flexing all my acting muscles, you know, right now, which is great. I mean, that's what you want. You don't want it to be easy. You don't want to come in and just, you know, read some words.
Well, and I think it's good because also I feel like there's been a lot of talk about superhero movies and how like they're not, you know, as like challenging as like other movies.
Yeah,
and it's good. It's great to see that like even in this kind of like world, you're able to really flex your acting chops.
Yeah, and that's also probably part of the serialized television. You know, over a long season, over many seasons, actors can go to those places because you can let the story unfold like that. And that's, I think, where we're lucky. And also we're lucky because I think there's always been a commitment to having really good three-dimensional characters on the show. So, you know, we're really lucky.